Hello GameMakers, this is GameMaker Rob, and in today's episode we implement item stats. We can choose whether spells appear based on an item equipped. Items can have a minimum and a max range, so you can have weapons that have different ranges of attack, and we also have AoE effects as well, so you can have a sword that damages 20 people around it, or a fireball spell that only affects one person. So let's get started. Hello everyone, so today we are going to continue with the battle system. We're going to implement items more. The items that a character has equipped are going to affect what actions they can see in the battle menu. To make that happen, we need some more items and some more item stats. So we're going to add them first of all, and they are in the create event of OBJ main. I just spent 12 minutes explaining stuff. I don't think this is the right place to do that. So I'm just going to show you what I've done so far, briefly explain what it is, and then explain further on when it's more relevant. So at the very bottom we have our items and inventory region, and I've added some more items. Basically these are all spells. The reason I've added these is we have some tombs. We're not actually going to be able to use the tombs themselves, but we have a stat that says, well, if this item is a tomb, then we're going to check all of the items that we have in the game, and if this item says it belongs to this tomb, then this item is going to be added as a spell. So you'll see what I mean later on, but that's just a brief explanation. And in the actual game, under spells, if the character does have any spells, you'll see some of these, basically. If the unit has any of these weapons, then you'll see them in the attack option. If the unit has any items like these, you'll see them in the items option. I'm sure you'll see a video on the intro to explain what I mean. And then we also have some more new stats. All of these are the new stats. We have a min and a max range. They are going to be used in our script that displays the action nodes, because we need a min and a max range. So each item is going to pass its own min and max range. So it allows us to have things like weapons that have a range of 1 or 2. Bows might have a minimum range of 2, so you can't shoot people that are right next to you, but they have a maximum range of 6 or 8, stuff like that. AoE range. So when you select a tile to attack or cast a spell, does it affect any tiles around it? AoE range of 0 will just affect the tile that you selected. A range of 1 will affect the tile you selected and 4 tiles around it. And the higher the number, the bigger the effect, basically. Mana cost. So does this item cost any mana to use? You could have a weapon that costs mana to use, because we're not going to be checking whether it's a spell or a weapon or an item. We're just going to be checking, does it have a mana cost? Same thing with charges. So most items you're going to want to set as -1, because you want them to last forever. Things like healing potions, you want a value of 1 or something similar, and then every time you use it, the value will decrease. If you get to a value of 0, then the item is going to get removed from the inventory. Stat affected. Most things are going to affect hit points, but some things like rings are going to affect other stats like resistance, strength, accuracy. Value affected. So how much is the stat affected by? A negative value will affect a stat negatively, positive will affect a stat positively. Must target an actor. So if we swing a sword, we want to be swinging it at a character on a tile. We don't want to be swinging at an empty space. Things like some spells that have an AoE effect, we can allow that to target an empty space because that allows for more fine-tuned explosions, that kind of stuff, or healing. If you're familiar with tactics games, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Item type. So when an actor's taking their turn, they have options of move, attack, spell, or item. When we check what items a character has equipped, we're basically going to say, okay, well, does this item belong in a particular action slot? If it's any of these, then it belongs in the attack slot. If it's any of these, it belongs in the item slot. Any of these will belong in the spell slot. And you'll see them because we're going to generate lists dynamically based on the character we selected. Where they're all going to have different options they can use during a battle. So that's the item type. Is tomb. So I said that you're not going to kind of see these in battle, but what they do is they add other items to a character's actions that they can use. So, for example, if you have a Tomb of Fire equipped, then you'll see these two spells in the spell action for that character. If you have a Tomb of Ice and Healing, then you'll see 4 spells that they can use. You won't see any of these tombs, you'll just see the spells. And the way it's going to work is if any of these items are flagged as a tomb, then instead of adding the tomb to an action, we check the whole list of items in the game to see if they should be added. Whether we know whether they should be added or not is we have a stat called which tomb, and if an item's which tomb value is the same as the tomb that we're checking for, then the item gets added. For example, let's just say this Tomb of Fire equals 1, and when we add this to a character, we're going to check to see if any of these items have a which tomb value of 1. So Fire 1 and Fire All would have 1. All of these might have 4, 4, 5, 5, like that. All of these would have -1 or 0. Doesn't really make a difference. And then because these numbers match, these two values get added to that unit's spell list. I just want to mention as well, this means we can have things like Swords of Fire, weapons that also cast spells as well. So that's pretty cool. You can have tombs that don't appear. You can have tombs that do appear and also give you spells. So there's a lot of things you can play around with there. And we have a new enumerator called item type. Basically, it's just to organize where these items are going to go. So all of these are going to go in the attack slot or menu action, sorry. These 2 go in the item action. These 6 go in the spell item. I don't want to explain too much about these. I'll explain more when we come to coding it. It'll make more sense. But that's it for the create event. Okay, so here you can see the new and improved item stats CSV. You don't have to fill all of this out yourself. I'll include it in the description box for you to download. It includes all of the new stats. You can see most of these items have a witch tomb of -1, but the fire spells have a witch tomb of 14, ice 15, heal 16, and if we go 0, 1, 2, 12, 13, 14. So 14 is Tomb of Fire, matches up here. 15 is Tomb of Ice, 16 Tomb of Healing. As long as these values match up, when you get to these items, these will be added. And only these 3 items are flagged as being a tomb. You can, make a sword a tomb as well. You'll still be able to use a sword in battle because its item type is 2, which belongs in the attack slot. The attack option, that's better. But when we go through all the items, none of these items are set as a witch tomb of sword, so nothing else will show up in spells. But if we said fire all belongs to 1, then if we equip a sword, we'll be able to use a sword, and we will have this spell as well. This one here, fire all. So you can do some pretty cool stuff. I just wanted to show you that, explain it. I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. Charges, everything set to -1 apart from heal and mana. Do I ever done MP cost, mana cost? Yeah. So everything, mana cost for everything is 0 apart from the spells. So you can have spells that don't have mana cost. You can do all kinds of cool stuff like that. It's just a matter of playing around with the stats. I like to have some things here so I know what numbers to put in entries. Otherwise, it's pretty hard. It would be cool if you could just type in enumerators, but you can't do that as far as I know. Anyway, that is the item stats CSV. Just so we can get all of the CSVs out of the way in one go, I'm going to show you the classes and characters CSV. You know how we have enemy characters in a battle? They need to have equipment too. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to have set equipment for them. And we're going to do it from inside the classes and character CSV. So if an enemy fighter is spawned, it's going to say, okay, what does it have in its left hand? 7. It's going to have a large shield. What's in its right hand? 2 is a sword. What does it have in its chest? Leather chest. What accessory does it have? Nothing. What item does it have? 17. Heal potion. What item does it have in the second slot? Nothing. So all the fighters are going to get a sword, a shield, leather chest, leather armor, and a healing potion. That's how we're going to do it. The player characters are going to be equipped with whatever we gave them in the army screen. That's how that's going to work, because during the game, this CSV is going to get modified, because whenever we add or remove items, these slots get changed for our player characters. We're never going to change these entries for the classes, so we can be sure that whenever we spawn like a default character of one of these classes, they're going to get these items. We're never going to change Davos's, the enemy character. We're never going to change his items either, so I've already given him some stuff. He has a staff, Tomb of Fire, Ring of Fire, and a heal and mana potion. Again, I will have a link to download these CSVs in the description box. Okay, so now we are going to go back to OBJ test, where the vast majority of the code is going to be, and we want to go into the create event first of all. And at the bottom, I just have a comment to say what I was explaining before. So we're going to have a list called battle menu lists. That's going to store a list for each of the actions, like move, attack, items or spells. We're only going to be using the ones for attack, items and spells, because when you click move, We just want to move the unit. So this is going to be our list, battle menu lists, and inside this list we're going to have a list for every option of battle menu. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to have 6 lists stored inside it, but we're only going to be using 3. These 3. So these are the 3 that are going to get updated. And if we go into the end step and we want the region called in battle and the next actor. So every time we want to go to a new actor, we want to check, let's put a comment, check what items, check what gear this actor has equipped and populate the lists stored inside battle menu lists. So first thing we want to do is clear all the lists stored inside battle menu list. That's what this is going to do. A nice simple for loop for that. Then this bit here, we want to populate the lists, basically check what is equipped. So we're only interested in the stats of the character that hold gear, which is going to be from left hand to item 2. Make sure you have less than or equal to. Usually we have less than, but this time it's equal to because you want to include this value. So we're going to check the value that's stored inside the entry for this character, for this stat. So let me just load the CSV so I can use this to explain things. So say for example we are checking what a fighter has. It's going to check this one first, return 7, this returns 2, 8, 0, 17, 0. So that's the values we should expect to see for a fighter inside item. So if item's not equal to empty, so it's not empty because it's not 0, so it's going to be 7. Is it a tomb? So is a sword a tomb? Well, let's check. So we need the other CSV open. Sorry. I'll show the code. I'll zoom in on the code in a minute. So we've got a sword here. Here's the stats to say, is it a tomb? No, it's not a tomb because it's 0. So we're going to skip this. Not a tomb. Well, where does this item belong then? So item type. So the item type for a sword is 2, which is attack. So we're going to add the sword to the attack entry in the battle menu list. And that's how it works. If we had a tomb, sorry, is this the right one? Yeah. So is tomb, if we had a tomb of fire, this check would return as 1. So this code would run. So we're going to have another for loop that runs through every item we have. It's going to be checking all of these. It's going to check all of these. And it's going to say, okay, does this item, does this stat for that item match this item? So Tomb of Fire is 14. So it's going to check dagger. No. It's going to check all of these until it gets to, sorry, it's going to check this row. It's going to check all of these until it gets to a 14. And then what's going to happen? So if this is true, then again get the item type, same thing. So the item type for the fire 1 is a 3, which is a spell. So we're going to add J, which is fire 1, to the spell list, like so. That's how it's going to work. So let me just zoom in on this code so you can see it properly now that I've explained it. And one thing you won't need for the game, but is good for us to test it for now, because we don't have any visual information right now, is we've got a for loop. All we're going to do is we're going to check every list of battle menu lists. If it's not undefined, then we're going to say what list it is, and then we're going to display the contents of that list. So if that list size is greater than 0, this for loop will run. We'll check what items in the list. We want to know the name of the item to display it easily, and then we're going to show that information in our output. It's going to pop up here. So once you've got this region down and this region down, that should be everything. Let's run the game. We're not going to see anything different visually, but we should have an output that shows us that the items and stuff is being equipped. Oh, you have to close the CSVs, sorry, before you run the game. I forget that sometimes. Let's go to the battle, and then you can see we've got a new actor. Here's our debug information. So the first list is not used, and because so in our debug we can see we have leather chest, which is this one here, and it has an item type of 0, which if I put an entry there, it just say nothing or empty, not valid. So you can see in our entry 0, it has a leather chest, which is the same as move. No, it's not, sorry. This is the move list. There's nothing contained in that one. Then in attack, in our attack list, we have a large sword, a large shield and a sword. So we'll go to the items. Sword has an item type of 2, and the large shield has an item type of 2, which is the attack menu option. That's why they're appearing here. No spells, and it has a healing potion as an item. So this is how we're going to be dynamically filling our lists for every character. So whatever they have equipped is going to show up in the options. And pretty sure this is going to be a fighter, because a fighter has a large shield, a sword, leather chest, and healing potion. So this character is a fighter, this guy here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is allow ourselves to see that happening in the game. So inside the create event, so we're going to have a new variable called secondary option. So whenever we have items that belong in the attack option or spells, we're going to be using secondary option to choose from those. So selected option is going to be for move, attack, spell items. Secondary option will be sword, bow, fire 1, fire all, that kind of thing. And it's going to be set to -1 while the player is choosing an option from the main menu. And we're going to have it where if we press right on the keyboard, VK right, then we're going to be, this is going to get set to 0 as long as there's a secondary option we can choose from. And then we're going to be able to press up and down to choose from the secondary options, and the selected option isn't going to change. So that's how we're going to do it. That's why we have this variable. And all we need to do is in the draw GUI of obj test, in our draw battle menu region, just before the brackets close, we're going to have this. So let me show you. Let me close this region first. So just make a region here, and then inside that region we'll have this code. So we want to check which list we're on with selected option. So if we're on the attack option, that'll be list entry 2. And then we're going to use a for loop to display the options that are inside that list. So we've got some drawing coordinates. Items are going to hold whatever is stored inside the list. As long as item isn't undefined, then it should have been set correctly. So then, I'll just separate this apart. So if secondary option equals I, then we want the index of the button to be 1 to make it highlighted. Otherwise, the index is going to be 0, which is exactly the same as this, except this variable has changed to secondary option. Then the text we want to display is going to be the name of the item. Then we're going to draw our menu sprite. We're going to change the font to editor because a lot of the names are too big to use the conversation font. And then we're just going to draw the text. So if we run the game, we can see that happening now. So we always start off with a fighter selected because we're not randomizing the game. So we shouldn't see anything pop up for move. But if we move down to attack, we can see he has a large shield and a sword. And he has no spells, and he has a healing potion. So just to show that the code is working as intended, if we go into classes and characters, and then let's give the fighter a Tomb of Fire. Let's put it in his left hand, so give him 14. Save it, close it. If I get back to a fighter, we should now see a couple of fire spells. So we've got a fighter selected. He's got a sword because we swapped his shield for a tomb. And now in his spells, we can see a fire 1 fire roll because those are the fire spells. They belong to that tomb. And we don't see Tomb of Fire because it's got an item type of 0 because it's hidden. But we do see its spells. So as long as you've got this, then you are good to go. Okay, so now we are going to go back into the step event of obj test. We're just going to do something very simple. We're going to allow, when we press right, we're going to be able to choose from the secondary options as opposed to the primary ones. And so we need to be in actor taking their turn, and then pick an action from the menu. And then this is changed. So if you press up and down, if secondary option equals -1, then just switch between our main options as usual. Otherwise, if secondary option is not equal to -1, then secondary option itself is going to be changed. The min value is going to be 0. The max value is going to be the size of the list that's contained inside battle menu list for that option, because it's dynamic. We don't know the size of this for every character, so we have to do it like this. Then if we press right, VK right, then we want to shift from the primary options to secondary option. We only need to do this one time though, so if we press right twice, this isn't going to happen. So if secondary option equals -1, which we'll do if we are on the primary, then set it to 0. And then that's when this is going to kick in, because we've set it to 0 here. If we press left on the keyboard and secondary option is not already at -1, set it to -1, and then this will kick in instead. So that's how we're going to do this. Let's just run the game, make sure that's working. Okay, so attack, press right. We can't go up and down because there's only one option. Let's go to spells. We press up and down, we can choose between them. Item. Pressing left or right on move does nothing, which is good. Okay, so as long as you have something like this, then you are good to go. Okay, so again in actor taking turn, we're still inside the pick an action from the main menu. Where we press VK enter, we have updated that region. This should be the same as before, but this is new. Well, it used to be if selected option equals attack, but now we want to check for attack, spell, or item, because the code's going to be the same. So we have picked either attack, spell, or item. We've pressed right, which will change secondary option to something other than -1, and we've pressed enter on one of those options, and that's when this code's going to run. So we want to grab the list from battle menu lists. We want to check which item we've selected, which is going to be grabbed from this entry here. Min range and max range are going to be grabbed from the global item CSV that we updated today. And then we're going to use our new variables, our new stats in our SCR display action node script. And then this line here, current action equals selected option, we've moved it to here because we don't always want to change this. We only want to change it if this happens or this happens. So if we run the game, we can see this working now. So select sword. He has a fire spell. You can see we've got a bigger range for fire spells. You'll notice as well, the tile he is standing on isn't highlighted, so we can't select that tile, because we don't want people to be casting fireballs on themselves or hitting themselves with swords. We can cast heal spells though. Let me show you a bug that I found yesterday as well. So if we choose this like an archer, I'll just find a new one. So I need to be resetting selected or secondary option when we change character. So if we've got two bugs. If we choose dagger, we can see he can attack 4 squares. If we choose short bow, nothing pops up, and the reason that is because I made a mistake last time we updated the SCR display action nodes. So we're going to fix that in a minute. Let me fix the other problem first. So in next actor, in here, let's say secondary option equals -1. What was happening is we weren't able to press up or down after switching to a new character because secondary option wasn't -1. So this will fix it. So make sure you have this in the next actor region. Okay, so we're going to make a quick change to this script. You can middle mouse click on it to take you there straight away. And it's just one line that we need to change. And it's all the way down here, line 92. Let me just make a little change. So previously we had if node.combinedDistance is greater than or equal to min range, and node.combinedDistance is less than or equal to max range, then add it to the open queue and the open list. But what was happening was if the range was greater than 1, then the nodes weren't being added to the queue or the list straight away, and so that was it. Like, it would just check the first node, and that was it. That's why you don't see any highlighted squares appear on short bow, because with the short bow, it has a min range of 2 that is set to it. Where we are, so short bow, min range 2. So none of the nodes were being added or being checked. So all we want to do, we want to check to see if a node is within the max range, because even if this node isn't within min range, we still want to check its neighbors. So that's how we fix that bug. And then when we get to the current, that's when we're going to say whether we want to add it to the list of active nodes or not. So then we can check both min range and max range. So this is fine. It's just this line that we need to change to this. So let's run the game. Let's close down the item stat CSV first, and then run the game. And we should be able to see short bow with a min range of 2 and a max of 6, I think it is. So let's get to an archer. I think this guy's an archer, yeah. So a short bow, and you can see 1, 2 tiles is the minimum he can select, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the max. So working as intended now. Awesome. Okay, so now we are gonna allow ourselves to press on. After we've selected the weapon or spell, we're gonna choose a tile, and then we're gonna see if AoE should happen or not. That's what we're gonna be doing now. So inside the end step event of obj test, inside actor taking turn, taking an action, and then where we press enter after already choosing a new menu option, this line should really be current action equals battle menu.move, not selected option. And then if we press enter and it's not move, so this is the last bit of code we're going to do, and it's a little rough at the moment. I can already think of 2 things that I want to add. Probably need to check where the secondary option is greater than -1, and we also need to check whether it's a valid tile, whether it's a highlighted tile. So those 2 things plus other things we'll do next time, but for now I'm going to explain what's going on. So we have a check to see if the current action is attack or spell or item, because all 3 of these things are going to work the same way. Like I said, we haven't checked for mana or charges either. Let me just check for mana cost charges. We'll do that next episode because I don't have time today. Sorry. Okay, so when we want to perform an attack or a spell or an item, this is a list of things that we want to happen. So what should happen now? Well, first we want to check there's enough mana or charges to use it. Although really we should probably check that before. Should we? Yeah, before we highlight. Before we show highlighted options, we should be checking for this. Check for this before. Okay, so when we press on a tile, highlighted tile, we want to check to see if we have to target an actor. So if we have to target an actor and there's no actor there, then we won't allow it to run. That's what this first line is about. I'll show you this code in a minute. I just want to explain what's going on first of all. And then, if this is okay, we want to run our display action node script for the AoE, because we're going to show the AoE effect. It's usually just going to be one tile, but it could be more depending on the item. We want to change the facing of the actor to face the direction that they're attacking. We want to play an animation for the character making their attack. We want to play an animation for each tile in the AoE that's affected. Let me just update that. And if so, say for example we're casting a fire spell that affects 5 tiles, we'll play a flame animation, and then if there's an actor on that tile, we want to affect them as well. So we might have an empty tile, cast a flame, an empty tile, cast a flame, then one tile will have an actor, so we'll cast a flame, and then we'll show the actor taking damage, something like that. Then after the whole animation for healing or damage has been done, we want to apply XP, experience points, to the current actor. And if we want victims to attack back, then we'll have that there too. I'm interested in people's opinions, whether we should allow victims to attack back or not. So comment below if you have any opinions. I'm always eager to hear feedback on my series. So the code. So we want to grab the list. What's the list that holds the actions that we want to take? And then the item we chose to take the action is going to be stored here. This value is going to store whether we must target an actor or not. If we don't have to target an actor, or we do have to target an actor, and there's an actor there, then we want to get the start node, which will be grid X and grid Y of the node grid. If you remember, when we press up, down, left, or right, it's modifying grid X or grid Y. The minimum range for AoE is always going to be 0. The max range is going to depend on the item. Swords, anything that we want to only attack adjacent squares is only going to have a max range of 0. That's fine for AoE. And then we're going to run our script again, like this. So let's run the game. Let's move the character first so he's close to someone, and then choose attack with the sword. You can see there's only one square highlighted because this is the only square that's going to be affected by the sword. So if I didn't mean to do that. If I go back to a fighter, he's got fireroll. This has an AoE effect. If I cast it here, you can see that there's multiple tiles being affected because it's an AoE effect. And you don't have to target an actor either. So if I cast it here, it'll still damage this guy. Because must target an actor is false for fireroll. So that's it. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It's coming along. There's quite a lot to it, but we are getting there. There's a couple more things to do for the battle system, and then a couple of more systems to implement for the game, and then we are almost at a stage where it's playable. So I hope you're having a good time. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. But apart from that, I will catch you next time. Bye for now.